Greetings, fellow Whovians, and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. As the build-up towards the Power of the Doctor continues, I thought I'd review the opening two-part adventure for Series 12 of Modern Doctor Who, Spyfall, which was originally broadcast on BBC One in January 2020. Just in case you don't know the plot, the Doctor, Yaz, Graham, and Ryan have been hired by MI6 to investigate a series of murders of various spies and secret agents from around the world. Acting as secret agents with a little help from their new friend O, their trail leads them to the CEO of the media company Vor, Daniel Barton, and an alien entity known as the Kasavins. I wanted to start this review off with Sacha Dhawan being the master because, my god, he is so good, so creepy, so unhinged. I really love his interpretation of the master from Series 12 and beyond. We know how good of an actor he is. He's been in the dramatization of An Adventure in Space and Time, and yeah, I just really love him. And no disrespect to Michelle Gomez, who was Missy, but I didn't really get into the whole Missy Master characterization. It just doesn't really quite sit well with me. It just doesn't gel with me. But Sacha Dhawan as this interpretation of the Master really does. He just that transformation from him being O to the Master in that sort of cliffhanger reveal, a really good cliffhanger by the way, was really good, and he just flips instantly. And then when he sort of reveals what happened to the original O with the tissue compression in the little matchbox, and you just see his hands shaking, it just sort of just shows how basically how broken he is, how basically unstable he is. There's more evidence of this when the Doctor asks the Master what he wants, and it took him a good few seconds to really process that question and sort of reveal the answer of Neil. And again, his delivery, his performance is just so good. I really love the sparring, the chemistry between Sasha and Jodie, and that scene itself when he's demanding the Doctor to kneel, and with that whole gender swap now, it just really it's just disturbing, on sort of one level, it's two alien races, but on another level, in terms of male to female, it is just disturbing. And again, they both played it really well. And again, the scene between the two on top of the Eiffel Tower, with him dressed as a Nazi, it's there's so many layers to this character. Props to Chris Chibnall from going back to his classic roots in terms of the Master, bringing back the tissue compressor, and also that Master of Disguise persona that the Master uses, especially during the John Pertwee era of Doctor Who, and to be fair, the Peter Davison era. I like the modern update of the Master of Disguise with the perception filter when the Master is dressed as a Nazi. Onto the story itself, and I could be wrong, correct me in the comments, absolutely. But is this the first time we see Doctor Who take on an espionage type drama or story? I'm trying to sort of rack my brains if there was something sort of similar to that, but I can't really remember. But on the whole, I thought it was a very interesting take. We've seen Doctor Who be variations of other genres before, like horror and comedy, and but yeah, it's a bit of a weird tonal imbalance for me. I feel like when they're doing the spy espionage part of that, I think Chibnall was sort of aiming for more laughs on this one, especially with Graham sort of tap dancing with the laser shoes, and the whole sort of chase scene at the end of part one, or getting towards the end of part one, between the Doctor and Team TARDIS and Daniel Barton. It was kind of as if it was all played for laughs, which I felt like was kind of the wrong way to go. I thought that the actual sequence of the chase was really good and really well shot, but to sort of play it for like sort of laughs just kind of just undermined the sort of threat that this shootout and this chase scene was kind of seen on screen. I did like the social commentary when Daniel Barton is giving out his speech of his master plan, that, we're on our phones, we've got your data now, and you have just allowed us, you just kept clicking agree. So we've got every sort of part of you and the DNA and everything that went with that. I thought that was a really good social commentary. It's just a shame that the character of Daniel Barton, played by Lenny Henry, was just very underdeveloped for me. I think there could have been more time to flesh out the character of Daniel. I thought Lenny Henry did a good job. Nothing against him at all, but the only sort of way we knew he was a villain was him killing his mum. And the only reason that we got for him killing his mum is because the mum read a newspaper instead of reading entertainment or news on her phone. It's just sort of like, how do we make them evil? It just didn't really do it for me. It's the same with the historical characters, Noor Khan and Ada Lovelace. It's really nice that Chibnall is bringing these historical figures into Doctor Who, and to, at least sort of explore or give people the chance to explore who these famous historical figures were. But if you're not really gonna like, apart from just giving the Doctor like, oh, this is so and so, and they did this, this, and this, they kind of been made a little bit redundant. I think they could have been sort of entered into the story a bit more, and again, flesh out the characters, be a little bit more creative with them. It's I do appreciate bringing these historical figures in, and when it works well. Rosa Parks is a fine example, but here and some of the other stories, like in Doctor Who Flux, it's if they're not just going to be part of just, oh, here they are, this is them with the Doctor, then it's, it just doesn't really play to their strengths. Sadly, I'm going to have to say something similar to the fam. Yaz, Graham, and Ryan, they didn't really bring much to the table. Again, nothing against the actors as well. They did the best with the material that were given, but terms of characters, I thought it was the right move to separate the Doctor for that sort of separate part of the adventure, and then the subplot of Yaz, Graham, and Ryan on the hunt for Daniel Barton. I thought it was, a good idea to separate them, but they didn't really do anything. They were just sort of comedic foils, and especially in part two, where they sort of survived the plane crash. What did they actually do apart from just wander around and then get to the point where they see the Doctor? It was just a convenient plot point for me. I think it would have been better if the Doctor just kind of sorted it all out, because we didn't. I felt this was more of a Doctor Master story, and I felt like the companions were sadly getting in the way. Not the first time that happened, and certainly not going to be the only time this happens. So it probably would have been better just to leave them stuck in the crash, and then sort of have the big sort of reveal that the Doctors have found out something terrible, and sort of dealing with the aftermath of that, and the Master. It's that would have been better placed. As to the reveal of Gallifrey being destroyed for the second time, I'm kind of fine with it, because the way I sort of figure it all out is, when Doctor Who came back in 2005, Gallifrey was believed to be gone, but then Stephen Moffat kind of retconned that into, no, it was caught in a bubble, and obviously he brought Gallifrey back, and now you can kind of say it's a poison chalice with Gallifrey, because you're kind of like, well, what do I do with it now? But to sort of destroy it, and yeah, that's a sort of, how else could you do it? Because you couldn't really bring the Time Lords back in that sort of sense, because of how they were sort of perceived in the end of time. So the fact that the Master destroyed Gallifrey is an interesting concept, and something that obviously we'll see later on in this series. But just sort of keeping it relative to Spyfall and that reveal, I thought it's fine. It's a shocker. I'm going to give Spyfall a TARDIS rating of 6.5 out of 10. It's a very interesting idea to do an espionage type drama and throw in sort of historical figures, and have this big sort of alien reveal. And well, it's a kind of a typical, or starting to feel like a typical Chibnall story. Let's just overpack it with stuff, but let it be a bit sort of thin on the ground at the same time. I think tonally the story's a bit all over the place. When it's getting down to the serious stuff between the Doctor and Master, that's when I really enjoyed this two-part adventure. That's really what it should be. When it became sort of like the spy comedy sort of element, or I don't know if it was intentionally to be a more of a comedic element, that's when I feel the story just is a bit lackluster and just doesn't do it for me. Like I said, the big sort of takeaway from this is the Doctor and the Master, especially the Master, Sacha Dhawan. Great introduction for him, bringing back the Master. This is what Chibnall is really good at. He's very good at bringing back the villains, the classic villains of Doctor Who, and really sort of ramping up their intensity. As for the rest of the Spyfall, it felt very similar to the Curse of Fatal Death, with the sort of like, I've bribed the eyes, I've gone back in time and done this, and no, I've gone back in time and done that. So, and especially the the Master saying, you know how 77 years have felt for me. I was expecting to say how many sewers I've had to climb up, and also it felt very similar to Chris Chibnall's previous two parts adventure with the 11th Doctor, The Hungry Earth, and Cold Blood, where there's kind of like, let's bring back a classic villain, have this sort of story, maybe not be the sort of, you know, it's not the strongest story, but then the big reveal will sort of, you know, hopefully help me get away with it. That's what I kind of felt similar to that, with the big reveal of Gallifrey return, but it's in flames. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts to Spyfall. Did you enjoy this two-part episode, and where would you rank this amongst the other episodes of series 12 of Modern Doctor Who? Also, what do you think of Sacha Dhawan's performance as the Master, and the big reveal that Gallifrey has been destroyed once more? Next time on Timey Wimey Review, my build-up to the centenary special, The Power of the Doctor, continues with the review of the episode The Fugitive of the Judoon, the introduction to the Fugitive Doctor. Until then, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the cloister bell for more notifications, come say hello, and follow me on Twitter at ReviewTimey, and do check out my other videos from the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. And as the good doctor once said, the Master's tracked me down and now he wants me dead, whereas I'm a big fan of being alive.